Can you hear me? There's a bunch of y'all out there. For those of you that don't know me, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Tandra Millsaps. I'm 38 years old. I'm married. Was married in this church 17 years ago. Not in this church, in the old church. I have two wonderful children. Caroline is 12. Justin is 9. He's not with us this morning. They're having Scout Sunday today, and he didn't care about hearing Mama talk. We live right here in this community, just about a rock's throw that-a-way. And yes, sometimes, somehow, just about every Sunday, we're late. When Betty asked me to speak, I told her yes, and just like she said, "That's it? Yes, you'll do it?" And I told her that I had to be honest because I probably knew I was going to talk today, even before she did. You see, I told my husband just this morning, I said, "I told you I was going to do this." A few months ago, I told him, a little over a year ago, when I get better, I'm going to church and I'm going to tell what God has done for me. So I've got a lot to talk about, and I've been told I had just a few minutes to do it in, but I know y'all won't mind if we go over a little bit. I'm sure somewhere somebody's got some Tic Tacs or something. Y'all can pass them around. Just take one, pass it down. Bear with me. If I take time, I have a tendency to ramble. My husband told me he was glad to see I made some notes. I want to talk to you about trials, battles, storms, mountains in our life. In our family, we like to call them little bumps in the road. And the Bible tells us that you will have trouble. John 16:33 says, "In this world, you will have trouble." It didn't say you might have trouble. You're going to have trouble. He says, "But take heart, for I have overcome the world." The biggest trial in my life thus far has been cancer. And I know that there's a lot of people that are touched by that somehow, some way. In our family, I think we've had a little too much, but that comes from, that's what God's put before us. So that's what we take. April 2005. My dad was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And we get in this place in our lives where we get in our comfort zone. And everybody knows what I'm talking about when we talk about our comfort zone. We just get in that nice, easy, little smooth place. Well, I was in my comfort zone. Everything was going all right. And you never think that it's going to happen to you or directly to you. You never think that. You never think it's going to be my family. You never think it's going to be me. But in that year, it was us. And it was a hard blow. On Monday morning, when we found out, it was a real shock to everybody. Before we found out, my biggest thing was that I was going to be late to work that morning. I ended up being at home most of that week, being at home with the kids, going to the hospital. In that 1 week, my world was turned upside down. There went the comfort zone. The following Monday morning, Now, I'm talking to you about my dad and my mama. I'm their baby. And they were my rock. My children would probably much rather spend time at Mama and Papa's house than anywhere they can think of. They spent a lot of time with my mama and daddy. And that's good to have when you have to work, when you have to get out in public. Well, that following Monday morning, I did two of the hardest things I had done in my life. I waited at the end of the driveway, and I put Caroline on the school bus for the first time ever. And I drove to town and left Justin at a daycare with strangers for 9 hours. And when I got to work, I was sitting there, and I was reminded again of John 16:33. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. And I was also reminded that God said He will never leave us or forsake us. We're reminded of that 3 times throughout the Bible, in Deuteronomy, Joshua, and Hebrews. He'll never leave us or forsake us. The best way that I have decided that I can describe cancer is as a thief or a devil. And I don't mean to offend anybody. That's my perspective, and that's how I've decided to describe it. John 10:10 says, "The thief comes not but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy." And that's exactly what cancer does. It steals time from our families. It destroys our bodies, and it even kills. But that's okay, because as Christians, we are victorious over death. You see, my dad passed away on May 10th, 2008. And he didn't lose that battle. He won that battle. He won that battle because of the sacrifice that God made for us, that Jesus made for us on the cross. Because of that, we're victorious over death, hell, and the grave. And 2 Corinthians 5:8 tells us to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And I know that's where my daddy is. November 5th, 6 short months later, November 5th, 2008, I was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer. And again, God said, in this life, you're going to have trouble. And just like everybody else, I started asking why. Why? Why does God allow these things to happen? I don't know why, but I know who does. The first procedure I had was to place a portacath to have chemotherapy. A lady that worked there in the outpatient department, I'm sorry, I don't mean to spit at it. A lady that worked there in the outpatient department, she came that morning to offer encouragement and to share her own story and struggle with cancer with me. And the very next week, I started to get packages in the mail from her, cards, CDs. She sent me this mustard seed. It's in a pretty good sized piece of glass, but there's a mustard seed in there. Everybody's seen a mustard seed.